Okay, so that gets us to the next problem, 9.2. Now the rectangle also has a center, and we need to write a function that returns the corner coordinates as lists. Okay, let's try to think a little about what this function should do. So what the function should do is that, and now you have to forgive my drawing a little bit. We got like a rectangle here, and this rectangle has like a width and a height as usual. But it also has a center, and that's what we call xc. X center and y center. These are the x and y coordinates. These are these two, x underscore c and y underscore c. So then what we want to do is we want to make a list of the corner coordinates. So we want to make, like you can see that it returns this get corners is a function that returns two lists, one with all the x corner coordinates and one with all the y corner coordinates. Okay, so how does that work? It should return, let's see what corner we start with, lower left corner. Lower left, what is lower left? That's lower and left. Okay, so we start with this corner here. So this corner, if you think about it, it's like we take the y variable, like if the coordinates of this corner, it's like if we take the x variable here, and then we subtract half of the width, right? We have the width down here. So we need to subtract the width divided by 2. And that gives us like the x coordinate of this corner. The y coordinate we obtain by taking this y coordinate, and then we subtract half of the height, right? Like because we need to go down with this amount. So this is like the height divided by 2. So that gives us like the y coordinate down here. And then we can imagine this is the first corner, so maybe we index them by x1 and y1. And then we do the same for this guy over here, and that gives us like x2 and y2. And no, maybe a second, we move clockwise. It said we move clockwise, so I'm just going to do a special effect here. Forgive me, special effect. Clockwise. Clockwise is this way, right? So we move clockwise. So we get this coordinate up here, and then we get this one over here and this one over here. And then what the function needs to return is that it needs to return a list of x values, which are basically x1 and comma x2, and then this one x3 and so on, and then x4, which would be this one down here. Good. And then it also needs to return a list of the y coordinates. So this is what the function is supposed to do. Let's confirm that is indeed the case. So here we have a rectangle with a width of 2 and a height of 3 and a corner coordinate of 2 and a center coordinate of 2 and 3. So it's a little difficult, they're the same. But basically that means that xc is equal to 2 and the width is equal to 2. So this x coordinate here will be 2 minus 2 divided by 2. It's like I'm saying my own name again and again. Anyway, that's 1. So that's why it returns 1. The y coordinate, what's that? Well, it's the center coordinate is 3, and then we subtract a height of 3 divided by 2. So we subtract 1.5, and that brings us to 1.5. So it has like a y coordinate of 1.5. And then we do the same thing for all the different corners, and it's going to be confusing as crap. Anyway, that's what this function does. And we are told that we should extend our class to now do this stuff. Okay. So we should still, I guess, work with the same class as we had before. And okay, fine. It needs the width, height, and the x and y coordinates of the center, and that needs to be passed on to the init method. Okay, so how do we do that? Here we have our little rectangle. And now we want to be able to construct a rectangle with a center, and the center should be at 2.3. So remember, this is like width, height, xc, and yc. And I'm more or less writing this for my own sake. So this is how we create a rectangle. Okay, so that means we need to extend it to give it an xc and a yc input argument here, because we want to pass these into the init method, and then we basically just store them. And I'm just going to call them the same name, because it's simpler to give everything the same name, because otherwise it becomes easier confusing. And I break that rule myself all the time, and I always regret it. Okay, so now we've done that. And then we need to maybe just confirm that the rest of them will still work as before. And of course they will. I mean, we just store some extra variables and we don't use them. But we need to write this function called getCorners. Is it corners? I guess so. Let's see if that's what it's called. getCorners, yes. And okay. And it needs to return the x coordinates and the y coordinate. And I'm going to call these xs and ys, and these need to be lists. So xs needs to be a list and ys needs to be a list. I'm just initializing them as empty lists so we can see how the structure is. And then x coordinates comma y coordinates is equal to rec.get corners, and it takes no input arguments. Okay. Oh, I forgot something. I forgot that it of course needs a self input argument first, and I'll of course get to why it needs that in a second. So now we get to this. So now let's print out these variables once they're defined, like this. Good. So this is just more or less set up. Let's try to see how this code functions by inserting some breakpoints at various places. So I inserted a breakpoint here in my function that I created, and I inserted a breakpoint here just after I create my new rectangle. Because now when I debug this file, I stop here at the first breakpoint it hits, and I can just confirm that my updated, I would really like to have my entire function and example in one screenshot, because I think it will be easier for everyone, but maybe I can't. Maybe I can. I think just about I can. Do this? Yes. Because now we see that my rec has the width and the height as before, but it also got the xc, x center coordinate, and the y center coordinate, like this. And then when I press continue, I hit the next breakpoint. Okay, so I altered the file, and that's why the breakpoints don't align very well. So I just restart the debugger. So now when I press continue, I hit the breakpoint inside this function, and we know that the first input argument to the function, when I call it here, is going to be rect. In other words, this variable self has access to the width and the height and the xc and so on and so forth. And now we need to start defining these lists. Okay, so what was the first x value here supposed to be? Let's go back to our completely awesome drawing. It was supposed to be this one, right? And we got that by taking xc and subtracting half of the width. In other words, the first value here should be xc minus self.width divided by 2. Let's just confirm that that actually agrees with what it's supposed to be, which was 1, and it does. So I'm a little bit happy here. And then we need to do the same down here, but now it's the height, and it is yc. Okay, so that was the first x coordinate. And now that gets exciting, because now we need for the second one. Okay, the x coordinate is the same. So we can copy paste a little bit. It should still be 1. Okay, what about the y coordinate? Well, the y coordinate is not the same. It changes, right? So instead of subtracting half a height, we need to add half a height, right? We need to get up here, right? Same distance. So we add half of the height. Good. And now we need to move from here to over here, because here we have x3. And that means that we also basically need to flip the sign on this one. Instead of subtracting half a width, we need to add it, right? We need to go over here. Good. So we do self.xc plus self.width divided by 2. And now for the y coordinate, that stays the same. We're still up here. So copy paste. And then we get to the last coordinate. This is this one down here. Well, the x coordinate doesn't change, but the y coordinate goes down, right? So now it is down, and we got down right up here. Okay, that was a bunch of code. So let's try to run all of this wonderful code. So I'm just going to copy paste it into this guy here. And now we see that xs is this and ys is that. And let's just confirm these with the example in the problem. This is the moment of truth. Okay, 1, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. 1, 1, 3, 3. Half, 4.5, 4.5, 1.5. This one. Yes, it looks great actually. Okay. Okay. And then of course this function returns these two lists. So they are assigned to this one and then they're printed out here at the end. Let's just check that. So we stop the debugger, we run the Python file, and we get the two lists printed out. How nice. Moment of truth. Let's go to the tests. And we got a rectangle parameter, translating, help. No test. Oi. No, here it is. Yes, there is a test. Wonderful. Let's test it. Please work. Yes, please work. Good. That's my attitude to tests. Good. Okay, I hope that was instructive. So I'll stop the video here and then we'll look at the next one. I think these are actually quite fun.